What's going on, guys? Savagery Reptiles here. Today I'm going to be going over finding some goals when it comes to breeding blood pythons. I've got Hera with me today. I spent about 30 minutes just trying to get her to chill out. And I'd say we're about 50% there. She was definitely striking a lot as I was pulling her out of her enclosure. This was definitely not possible day one or 35 minutes ago. I had to bring her here in a black hide I had laying around, and I had to use a hook to pull her out. But even as she was in the hide, she was literally trying to lunge out of the hide to get me. But I'm pretty sure it's just because she was scared. The guy, like I said, the rap that they get for being aggressive is false. If they were aggressive, this would not be possible. You might see her strike a couple times throughout videos, but that's me with my normal hand movement as I'm talking. So that's why I'm trying to keep this in my pocket as much as possible. But this would not be possible if they were aggressive. She was literally just striking at me because she was scared. She was nervous and she was peeing, which is which is a defense mechanism. So I don't want to use my second hand to kind of pull her up. I'm going to let her do her own thing and work her way back onto my hand. She could easily just reach around and bite me, like no problem. But she's not. That's not aggression. It was a defense bite. That's all it was. And even at the size she is now, I feel like a bite wouldn't hurt that bad. She might draw some blood, but it's nothing to like go crazy over. But back to the topic of this video, which is finding goals for breeding these guys. So I had someone send me a message asking me, what did I plan to do with blood pythons down the road? Is it like, I want to breed for funds, I want to breed to make a living? And my answer is absolutely not. I don't want to breed these guys for funds. Funds are just a plus. Of course, like the snakes that I do produce, they're not going to be free. They will go for a price. But I will not be breeding year round. My guy Trevor, he breeds American bullies. And each litter he literally has 100% full control over each litter. So you can reach out to him and literally he'll jump on a call with you, but he's picking and choosing who gets each and every one of these puppies. And that's where I want to be for... What are y'all doing? The cats are fighting. That's where I want to be for snakes. I haven't seen that yet in the reptile space. The blood pythons that I produce, I want to be able to pick and choose, where they go, the best homes possible for them. Even Trevor, he'll literally take his puppies where they go. So if he's in Texas and like you're in California or something, or Florida or wherever, he'll fly this puppy to you and fly back home the same day, which is, amazing in the dog space. You don't really see that often anymore. Like a lot of people, they'll ship dogs or whatever, and they'll send chaperones, like they'll pay someone else to go. But Trevor, he'll literally go himself. These are his dogs, these are his puppies, and he's literally bringing this dog to you by plane himself. I have never seen that, very often in the dog space, and I've never seen it in the reptile space. That's my goal for these guys. I want to be able to find the best possible homes for them, and I want to be able to take them where they need to go. I want to be able to meet their owners in person, shake their hand, congratulate them on, a very nice snake. Because at the end of the day, these guys are pets. Or at least that's how I look at my snakes. I look at them as pets. Somebody asked me, am I in this space just for the hobby of it? And I was like, not really, because I guess you could consider it a reptile hobby. I wanted to, move her before I did that. I guess you could consider it a reptile hobby, but a hobby is something that you grow out of. It's a phase. You're into it for this moment, but then later on you find something more interesting, and then you grow out of the previous hobby that you were into, and now you're getting into this one. I don't see these guys as a hobby. I look at them like I look at my dogs. You know, my dogs are family members that are going to be with me until they die. That's how I look at my snakes. They are family members that are going to be with me until they die. And it doesn't matter if I have 100, 200, 300 of them. These guys are family members. And the person that asked me what were my goals, they also asked me would I ever keep over 100 blood pythons and what would I do. I would definitely keep, keyword, I would definitely keep over 100 blood pythons. Now, will I breed them? Absolutely not. I'd probably pick, I'd say 10 and under. I'd probably pick 10 and under to breed, but literally the rest of them would just be pets. And I'm not saying the rest as in those 10 aren't pets. At the end of the day, they are still my pets, but they're just being bred to produce some snakes that I would like to produce. And the scale that I want to breed is I want to be able to breed maybe 1 to 2 times a year, if not every other year. So like I said, funds are not a priority or a necessity for me. They won't be free, obviously, but it's not something that, like the money isn't something that I want to chase. Eventually, I do want to create my own morph. Like Elijah, he created the Phantom morph. And I saw that video and I was like, bro, I have never seen, you know, such a beautiful snake. And like bloods, bro, like I kept ball pythons before. And don't get me wrong, I love all reptiles. I love every snake, you know, every lizard there is, all reptiles, I love them. But like had I found blood pythons before I was keeping ball pythons, I don't think I would have gotten ball pythons. I think I would have gotten more into the designer end of ball pythons versus, you know, just trying to find some stuff to breed. That's what I was doing with ball pythons. I was just trying to find some stuff to eventually breed to create some nice colors. But had I found these guys before ball pythons, I think I would have gotten more into the designer aspect of it. So like something, like my favorite line of ball python is the VPI Xanthic. But my second is Clown, and my third is Pied. So after seeing that it's possible to create a VPI Xanthic Clown Pied ball python, that's like right up my alley. Of course, it's very expensive. But I think that's where I would have been. I would think I would have, you know, saved up to get a snake like that and just kept them as a pet. I don't think I ever would have bred them. And I think I would have just gotten one just to have, you know, something like that that's kind of like a trophy you sit on and, you know, take care of it to your best ability. But these guys, once I saw them, Elijah's video was actually the first video I saw. And he was just, it was an egg cutting video. He was showing the clutch, but before he showed the egg cutting, he showed the mom. And the mom was huge. I think she was it was like a magpie batik or something. And she was huge, but she was gorgeous. And I'm like, bro, what kind of snake is this? Because like, it's a heavy bodied snake, but they're not like super long. So I'm like, you know, these guys seem manageable. And then when he picked her up, like he held her in one hand, like he was lifting her. But his hand was like this. It wasn't like closed. It was like a wide grip, but she still seemed manageable. So I'm like, what kind of snake is this? So I watched the video to the end, and like I want to say like 2 minutes in, I'm like, I need these snakes. I need to figure out where I can get them. At the time, I didn't know that you could search on Morph Market. I had no clue that they had a search option. When I got my ball pythons from Morph Market, the first page that pops up when you go into the app is ball pythons. So that's just what I was clicking. I had no clue that there was a search feature. So I joined the Blood Python group and I asked some people, I was like, you know, where can I find some blood pythons? And I didn't care if it was normal or some rarer morphs. So they were like, oh, jump on Morph Market. And I was like, I did. I didn't see anything about blood pythons. I was like, oh, just hit the search option. I was like, where is the search option at? Clear as day. It's in the most obvious spot. When you go into the app, it's literally right at the top, and you just press search. I don't know how I missed it, but I did. It was so obvious. I felt like such an idiot. But there it was, and I typed in blood pythons, and like all of these different morphs popped up. Golden Eyes, Bad Tricks, Bad Ticks, Magpies, even some 007s popped up. And after seeing some 007s, that's what got me into looking at Hera. Hera's a 007, but she's got like a bunch of funky coloring that you normally don't see in these guys. She's a very cool snake. But that's where that's kind of what piqued my interest in blood pythons. Now that's not where I got my first blood python. It was going to be from Morph Market until I made a trade. But she's very well taken care of. I definitely wouldn't have traded her if I felt like the home that she was going to wasn't the right home for her. She was a VPI Exanthic Leopard Inchi ball python. One of the most beautiful ball pythons I've ever seen. And the guy that I traded her to had a Redhead Martyr VPI Stripe blood python. So it was kind of on impulse, actually. It was like, oh crap, I got the opportunity to get this blood python, and I'm gonna jump on it. But like as I was doing it, I kind of felt bad, but I was like, you know what, I've already committed to it. Let me go ahead and see if I'm making the right decision. Later that night, I dropped her off, and the enclosure that he had set up for her was gorgeous. And I took the blood python home. Now, the blood python that he had him for less than 24 hours. And the guy brought him to him in a tub with like this very wet substrate. Now, it wasn't that it was wet that bugged me. It was the fact that it was more water. There was more water than there was substrate. So this snake was literally sitting in like mud almost. Not quite. It was like really soupy mud. And that bugged me because I like from the videos that I saw, I was like, this isn't how you keep blood pythons. So he had some very, very wet substrate in there and this gigantic water bowl that took up about the majority of the space for the tub that he was in. It was like directly in the center and he was underneath it. So all the space that he had to move around was underneath. Now I know that these guys burrow like 90% of the time, but they do come up and they like to move around, which I can tell you now from experience because mine, they do that. They burrow about 90% of the time, but I'll go in their enclosure sometimes. And Brock especially, he'll definitely be just sitting above the substrate, and then I'll open his enclosure, he'll come out, do his thing. But Brock, he was actually my first blood python. He was a trade. And then Leviathan, he was my second. That's where I got him from Morph Market. And that's where I got him from Elijah, Juggernaut Reptiles. And there's so many places that you can get blood pythons that I didn't know. Reptile shops, which I don't recommend. I've been over that story so many times. Like people will sell them blood pythons just because they are a reptile shop, but the workers in there that they work with don't really know what they're doing. So can you get them at a reptile shop? Yes. Do I recommend it? Absolutely not. You can get them from Craigslist, another spot I don't recommend, but you can go that route if you choose to. I saw one on Facebook Marketplace, and I think he was just like trying to sell the enclosure, but it wouldn't actually let him list the animal, so he had to put snake included, which is another route that I don't recommend. The enclosure that he was in just wasn't, it wasn't how you should keep blood pythons. So the best option to go for these guys is Morph Market. You can look at the colors you want. You can look at when they were born. You can get their IDs. You can see the meals that they're eating. And the best part about it is if you've got questions, the breeder is right there at your fingertips. You shoot them a message and 9 times out of 10 they respond. But some goals, mine is just experience, but it's up to you to figure out what it is that you want to do. There's nothing wrong with breeding these guys for a living. As with any snake, I don't see that as a problem. Like, there's so many people that do it. And Like, it only becomes a problem when it's too much for you to handle. Like when it kind of interferes with the care of the snake and their well-being. As long as their well-being is being met above and beyond, I don't see a problem with breeding for a living. But again, that's just up to you to figure out. Mine is just for the experience of it and to eventually create my own morph. I just touched her tail, and it's probably not something I should have did. I was expecting her to reach around, but she didn't. She has been so good this entire video. I was expecting her to be doing what she was doing earlier, but she's good. She's very good. But experience, funds, and making a living out of it. Those are the 3 goals that I would suggest you guys kind of do some research on and figure out if that's what you want to do. The business aspect that I want to get into is education. That's where I want to go with this. I feel like there's a big space for education with these guys while being able to keep them as pets and, take the best care of them as possible. That will be a separate video. I will go in. That's probably going to be my next video, like how to go into a business for education with these guys. But other than that, just do some research, figure it out what it is that you want to do, and at the end of it all, I figure that it'll be easy for you. I thought it'd be a lot harder for me, but after, like I said, the reptile community is just like so helping. You've got so many people at your fingertips to just help you with anything at any given time. But just figure it out what it is that you want to do and take care of your reptiles.